Good evening. Welcome back to Hellhound's Late Night Spook Show here on the Horror Metal channel. I'm Hellhound, and I've been redoing a lot of my early videos on here lately. Videos that I did reviewing movies or CDs or whatever from 6 years ago. And I already did Fright Night and Creep Show and Return of the Living Dead and Reanimator. So today I'm going to redo another one of my early videos, my review of the movie House from 1985. Yeah, House is one of the first movies I reviewed. I've been meaning to get to this re-review of House for quite some time because I really love this movie. So let's go ahead and find out why. Yeah, it's an extremely underrated and highly enjoyable horror flick. Yeah, it was directed by Steve Miner, and who he's been behind a few of my other favorite movies as well, of course. So it's about a writer named Roger Cobb, who played by William Catt, who moves into his late aunt's house, which he inherited, and so he can write a novel about his experiences in the Vietnam War. But he soon discovers that the house is haunted and is full of ghosts, zombies, dead fish, and various rubber creatures. So he arms himself to battle these otherworldly demons and search for his missing son, while at the same time being annoyed by his neighbor Harold, played by George Wendt, and also trying to kind of rekindle his romance with his ex-wife, played by Kay Linz. In a bizarre twist, it actually turns out that somebody from Roger's past is actually linked and may be responsible to his for his son's disappearance, and is lurking in the house as well, which I think is pretty interesting. That's basically the premise. I have a blast with this movie. Yeah, it seems like not too many people were really familiar with this film, or at least talk about it very much, unfortunately. William Catt is very likable as the main hero, and George Wendt is just hilarious as his nosy neighbor. And the rest of the supporting cast is great as well. Kay Linz and Mary Stavin. And the special effects are also done really well. The costumes and makeup and stuff. The various monsters that inhabit the house are really fun to watch. My favorite probably being the fat witch with a really high-pitched voice. And I also like his, the ghost of his undead war buddy, his ghost or a zombie, whatever he is. I was so entertained when I first watched this movie several years ago that I just didn't want it to end. I had an absolute blast with it, and I still do every time I revisit this really fun 80s thrill ride to this day. So it's an excellent horror film that is definitely worth checking out if you're into fun and somewhat cheesy horror comedies. Lots of big names are behind this. Produced by Sean S. Cunningham, who of course directed the first Friday the 13th. Directed by Steve Miner, who directed Friday the 13th 2 and 3, and a few other good movies. Ethan Wiley wrote the screenplay based on a story by Fred Decker. Harry Manfredini did the music. Great. A few somewhat creepy scenes. But I think what really steals the show is the makeup and the design of the monsters. They just look really cool. It's not just your typical ghosts and stuff. These things are way more imaginative looking, like that. And that's House by Steve Miner. I freaking love this movie, and I give it 2 thumbs up, and I highly recommend you check it out. Now, it was followed by a sequel, House 2, The Second Story. This movie's okay. I like it. It's a decent sequel. It really downplays the horror and ups the humor. The first movie was kind of a balance of horror and comedy. This one's more of a straight-up comedy, fantasy, and adventure, all rolled into one, with some horror elements. But I have already reviewed this on my channel, and I didn't, unlike the review of the first film, I didn't set that one to private, so it's still available to watch. So for my full thoughts on House 2, the second story, check out my review of that. Then there was also the horror show, which became known as House 3 outside of the U.S., and yeah, like the second film, there's really no connection to the first film, or even the House 2 for that matter. It tells its own story. Most of it does take place in a house, so I guess it could technically count as a house movie, but really it's its own thing. I don't know why they gave it that title outside of the US, but I actually really like this movie. It's more of a horror film than the first two, and it's probably, if it does count as part of the series, it's probably my second favorite next to the first one. Basically, Brian James plays a cackling serial killer named Max Jinky, who's executed and comes back to haunt the cop, played by Lance Henriksen, who sent him to the electric chair. But I reviewed this one as well on my channel, and again, that video isn't set to private either, so you can check it out if you want. It's very similar to the movie Shocker, which I pointed out in my review, but yeah, for my full thoughts on the horror show, check out my review of that one. It was an older video I did. Just type in the search engine, horror metal, the horror show, or Hellhound reviews the horror show, whatever. Then there's also House 4, which I don't own on VHS or DVD. I don't even know if it's available in any other format. And maybe that recent Blu-ray box set, but I haven't seen that in the store. I don't even know if that's available in the U.S., so I have no idea. But that's my least favorite, for sure. William Katt does return, and he is playing a character named Roger Cobb, and I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be the same character. Again, whether they intended it to be or not, I don't know. It's debatable, but I don't think it is. I think the evidence on screen suggests it's not. But either way, he's killed off pretty early on in a fairly depressing way, and it's not really so much a comedy. There are some really silly scenes, but it feels a little more serious and just kind of boring. There are a few scenes that stand out, like the talking pizza and the blood shower. And I think it's a pretty cool twist near the end. I like how the spirits in this house, again, it's no connection to the other movies, like the other sequels, aside from the name Roger Cobb and the actor William Katt. Other than that, there's no connection. But in this house, the spirits are actually good, and they're helping the main characters, Roger Cobb's widow, defeat the villains of the film, who are ordinary humans. Or at least that's what I gather from it, even though they kind of seem like they're attacking the main characters at the beginning. Who knows? It's probably like some kind of Poltergeist ripoff or something, I don't know. But it's not very good, and I don't own it, nor do I really care to. So I'd say definitely check out House, definitely check out the horror show, and check out House 2 as well. But I'd say avoid House 4. It's not very good, like I said. Alright guys, well, yeah, that's my thoughts on the House series. Maybe they'll make a House 5 someday, but I highly doubt it. But regardless, we'll always have this film, so, check it out. Alright guys, I'm Hellhound. Thank you for watching my late night spook show here on the Horror Metal channel. Until next time, later.